you stand out as a new leader? How do you cut through the noise when those around you are vying for position and attention? How do you sell yourself as the competent and great leader that you are? If you're not a leader yet, how do you set yourself apart so that you're ready for that next promotion or job opportunity? Well, today's video is all about how to demonstrate leadership in the workplace so that you can make people stop and take notice. So if you want to know more about how to stand out as a new leader when you're already on the job, then keep watching. I'm Jeboria, and welcome to the best place for new and emerging leaders who want help navigating challenging conversations in the workplace. When it comes to knowing exactly how to stand out at work, many people don't know where to begin. Most people who get a leadership position get the job and think, okay, I'm the boss now, let me go forth and lead. While it's true that you've been entrusted to supervise a team, it doesn't necessarily signify that you're automatically going to be an effective leader. We often begin with the best intentions, but in our enthusiasm, we sometimes miss some of the techniques that are necessary to stand out and successfully sustain our leadership position. Finding ways to make your mark by showcasing your outstanding leadership qualities is definitely key. Well, in this video, I'll give 5 tips for new leaders to stand out on the job so that you can make the most of your leadership opportunities at work. So if you're interested in knowing more, be sure to click the save button because I'm going to share a few tips that you might want to come back and revisit later on. Be sure to stay tuned until the end because at the end I'll give a bonus tip that I'll share just for you. Now let's get into it. The first way to stand out as a new leader on the job is to realize that leaders know that words matter. They use effective communication skills to positively impact those around them. Whether it's to craft a message or to relay your vision, or if it's expressing gratitude or even providing coaching feedback on performance, leaders who stand out use communication as a tool to instruct, to inform, to uplift, to motivate, and to take a stance. Exceptional leaders understand the power that can be leveraged when words are used with specific intention and purpose rather than using them carelessly. Successful entrepreneur and author Dan Locke said, "Communication is wealth. If you work on that, you won't go wrong." Consider it. How many of us have untapped wealth resource in the form of developing our effective communication skills that we don't take advantage of? How and what you communicate tells those around you who you are and what you stand for. Using words strategically by focusing on the specific use of language can work to undermine or shore up a leader's credibility. Leaders who stand out also know how and when to share information. It's about determining the appropriate methods and time frame for disseminating that information. Leaders who stand out understand that the distribution of information needs to be strategic as well. Asking questions like, who needs to hear this information? Is this the right time to share this information? Or what method or means of sharing this information should I use? Are all a part of the decision-making arsenal of an outstanding leader when deciding how and when to communicate. The central point that I'm making is that learning to communicate effectively is one of those high-level skills that translate across industries and also across professions. Dan Locke advises us to develop high-income skills that are not company or industry specific. This allows you to stack your success. It's been my experience that outstanding leaders are aware that effective communication is all about developing an unmatched skill set that will serve you wherever you go. Let's get into the next tip. Tip number 2. Leaders who stand out plan strategically. According to the businessdictionary.com, Strategic planning is a systematic process of envisioning a desired future and translating the vision into broadly defined goals or objectives and a sequence of steps to achieve them. In contrast to long-term planning, strategic planning begins with the desired end and works backwards to the current status. Outstanding leaders are thinkers who develop strategies to achieving goals. Thinking strategically and creating a plan demonstrates that you're a forward-thinking visionary, and to borrow a phrase from Stephen Covey, it means that you begin with the end in mind. Creating a plan also shows that you are a forward thinker who has leadership-like qualities and who takes the initiative and isn't afraid to take action. Setting yourself apart from others is all about honing in on those skills will showcase your strengths. Planning strategically is one way to show yourself to be organized, competent, and a visionary leader that you definitely are. Well, you might ask, what's the best way to get started? Entrepreneur, author, and motivational speaker Jim Rohn said that the first thing to do is find out how things work. Determining how things work using the mission, vision, and values of your organization will be a perfect place to start. You'll be able to use those things to plan strategically for your specific unit, and it'll be specific to the goals and objectives you're responsible for accomplishing. The reality is that no one wants to follow a leader who doesn't formulate a plan for the vision of where the team is headed, and every visionary leader needs some sort of strategic plan. Some strategies don't have to be elaborate. Sometimes strategy can be very simple. It will largely depend upon what your vision is and what your objectives look like. If you want a few tips on how to craft a strategic plan or how to communicate your vision to others, let me know in the comments below by typing "create a plan," and I'll make a separate video about that. Tip number 3. One of the ways to stand out from others on the job is that you inspire others. A quote from John Quincy Adams states that, "If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, and become more, you are a leader." Outstanding leaders leave their mark on the world by positively influencing others in a way that inspires them to greatness. When you examine how you show up as a leader, do others want to perform at their best because you motivate them? Do they want to do more and know more and learn more because your enthusiasm for the work and for the mission are catching? Do they develop into exceptional employees because of the example that you set? Orrin Woodward, author, founder, and chairman of the Board of Life, states that average leaders raise the bar on themselves, good leaders raise the bar on others, and great leaders inspire others to raise their own bar. My question is, what kind of leader are you? Tip number 4 on how to stand out as a new leader on the job is find ways to add value. As a new leader, finding ways to add value will be key in your mission to make a significant impact in a positive way. I'm not talking about sucking up or being fake or disingenuous. I'm talking about finding simple, creative ways to use your unique abilities and skills and also your talents to find ways to add value to your supervisor, to your peers, and to your direct reports. Albert Einstein said that we should strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. How can your individual talents recommend you to others in ways that add value to them and to the work that you have in common? That's the question. Adding value to others goes a long way in building rapport and establishing yourself as a useful and resourceful person whom others will seek out when opportunities arise. When you strive to add value to others, this creates a positive impression of you in their minds. And this goes a long way to the positive things that they're likely to think and say about you when you're not around. People can sometimes mistake this particular point, even though I don't think they set out to. Many think of it as showering others with platitudes or compliments in order to make a good impression and make people like you. While that may work for a while, it doesn't have a lasting effect, and we're going for lasting impact. Allow me to provide an example. During Christmas time last year, there was a very popular electronic gift that I wanted to purchase for a family member, and I was desperate to get my hands on it because I knew that it would be a great surprise. Well, I went to a particular store, let's call it store A, and the clerk looked up the item and told me that it was probably available at another store location, and our exchange was complete. I left. Well, undaunted by the difficulty of my task, I went to a totally different store. Let's call it store B. The clerk at store B told me that they didn't have the item and that the other store that they checked didn't have it either. However, the clerk at store B not only looked up the item and gave me 3 additional store locations where I could make the purchase, but the clerk at store B also called ahead and reserved the item for me at the closest location. Now, which clerk do you think added more value to me in my search? Was it the clerk at store A or the clerk at store B? Because of the actions of the clerk at store B who added value, that store now has a customer of me for life. So it stands to reason that we want our added value actions to become associated with making a lasting positive impact. If you agree with this particular tip, write add value in the comments. Also share in the comments below one thing that you did on your job to add value to others. So before we move on to the next, let's recap the tips that I've shared so far. Tip number 1, outstanding leaders know that words matter. Tip number 2 is visionary leaders plan strategically. Tip number 3, let your actions inspire others. And tip number 4, find ways to add value. Give this video a thumbs up if you plan to use one of these tips anytime soon. Tip number 5, leaders who stand out know that kindness goes a long way. As we move in and out of the new wave of cancel culture, it's important to remember that kindness is not cancel and pettiness on a leader is unattractive. Jim Rohn said that the challenge of leadership is to be strong but not rude, be kind but not weak, be bold but not a bully, be humble but not timid, be proud but not arrogant, and have humor without folly. That sounds like a tall order, right? Well, when you think of it, not really. Think of it more like leading with positive and honorable intentions, allowing your character to be on display. As American fast food tycoon Ray Kroc put it, the quality of a leader is reflected in the standards that they set for themselves and for others. What standards of behavior and conduct have you set for yourself? This is important because as the leader you set the example for others to follow, and it's your responsibility to model the way. It's also important because the law of attraction states that what you put out into the world comes back to you. So as leaders, we definitely want to reflect the behavior that we want to receive, like kindness. And now for the bonus tip. Leaders who stand out have a positive outlook. Leaders who have a positive outlook seem to excel when met with adversity, even under the most challenging circumstances. It may seem simple enough, but your outlook, meaning your personal perspective, has everything to do with how you view any given situation. And how you view a given situation will determine whether or not you take action, and also whether or not that action will benefit you and others. Motivational speaker Jim Rohn once told a story of 2 salesmen. He said that one day it was raining and very windy outside. The weather was extremely dismal looking. The first salesman looked outside and said to himself, "Boy, that weather is really bad. They can't expect me to go outside to make door-to-door sales in this weather. No one will even be out in this weather because the weather's so bad." Well, Jim Rohn explained that the second salesman was also at home and he saw the same rainy weather outside his window. The second salesman said to himself, "What a perfect day to go outside and make door-to-door sales." The salesman said, "I can make lots of sales because everyone will be at home because of the rain, especially the other salesman." So you see, 2 people can look at the same situation and the optimist will see all the possibilities while the pessimist will only see the obstacles. What kind of leader will you be? And what kind of leadership outlook do you have? The key takeaway here is that you get to decide the kind of leader that you want to develop into. All you need to do is be intentional and put in the work. Motivational speaker and author Eric Thomas said that it doesn't take a lot to be great. You just have to do a little more than those around you. I'll leave you with that thought. Now, if you're watching this video and you like what I shared about how newly appointed leaders can stand out, be sure to share this with a friend. I'm also thinking of making a companion video about what people can do to prepare for leadership positions before the job or the posting becomes available. Let me know in the comments below by typing the words, "Yes, make it," or "Yes, make that video," if it's something that you would be interested in. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell so that you'll be notified when that video posts. Well, as always, have a great week, be kind to yourself, and thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.